Ladies and gentlemen, Primetime CP23 here, back with another Diablo 3 video. Today we're taking a look at the patch 2.6.8 change notes in the PTR. There's a few things that are of note here. The most important thing is what they've done to the Typhoon's Veil set, which is the new wizard set for Hydras. I've been currently working on a series here on my channel showing this build and a specific build that I have going on with it using the Mantled Heal ring and lightning damage. And this update has kind of convinced me that I think I'm done with that series. I'm done trying to make that build because I think it's just never going to be strong enough to be even relatively viable. But we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But before we get into it, please remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course, leave a comment down below. Let's have a discussion about this. What are your thoughts on the PTR, and what are your thoughts specifically on the changes in this PTR? So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the video. So first things first, when we talk about changes, the changes for the patch are going to be in the red. Everything else has pretty much already been established. The first note here is that it doesn't look like Blizzard is quite done nerfing the new Heaven's Fury set. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. It looks like there was an animation canceling trick that is no longer going to be active. I didn't play the new Crusader set, so I can't give a whole lot of information as far as like the technical side of things, you know, how exactly it worked. But it looks like there was an animation cancel that is no longer going to be active. Oh my god, wrong button. As for the Witch Doctor, Spirit Barrage, your phantasms are now going to be twice as slow, but they're going to be twice as powerful. So it kind of balances out. I don't really think that's really that big a deal. For the new Barbarian set, Horde of the 99 Savages, they've added that frozen enemies take double damage as well, which I think is good. That means that all you have to do is use the Furious Charge Rune that freezes enemies. Just run into them and they are frozen, and then they're going to take double damage, it looks like. For the 4-piece bonus, they're just adding an extra 1% damage reduction, which should bring you up to 60% damage reduction when you're at full frenzy stacks. They've added a 300 to 400% damage increase on Undisputed Champion, which is good. More damage is always good. And on Bastion's Revered, it's now going to... Frenzy is now going to hit an additional time per stack, and each additional hit will chain to enemies within 15 yards. So, okay, that sounds like reasonable changes. That sounds like probably good changes. For the Witch Doctor, they're making it so that your Big Bad Voodoo will follow you more closely. They're granting a little extra damage reduction, 10%. And they're changing how the 6-piece damage bonus works. I don't really understand the difference, just to be honest with you. Just by looking at it, I would think that 50% of your mana regeneration per second would be worse than 100 times your mana regeneration per second. But like I said, I don't really understand the difference. But they're saying that it's not a nerf or a buff. It's just gonna make the damage bonus more clear. The Barber is now classified as a ceremonial knife, and it corrected the attack speed. My understanding is that the Barber had a faster attack per second than a normal ceremonial knife, I guess because it used to be a dagger. Gazing Demise is now going to do 100% to 150% additional damage, and it's going to increase the attack rate of one of your runes. Also on the Barber, it's now adding 400 to 500% damage buff. It's basically doubling what was the damage buff on it, so that's good. And they're making Ring of Emptiness more accessible, more easier to use by removing the both Haunt and Locust Swarm, and now you only have to use one or the other to get the damage bonus from Ring of Emptiness, which is a great change. Very for that. Now, for the Wizard. They've talked about a lot of bugs, a lot of things going on, and basically they even acknowledge that Etched Sigil, Death Wish, and Mantle of Channeling is the way to go with this new build, that it's just the most effective way to play Hydras. So they've made a couple of changes to the Typhon's Veil set. Now your heads cannot die once. Your heads can only die every 2 seconds, is my understanding of how that's going to work. Which is good, because that means if you get into trouble, if you teleport into the wrong place, you're not going to die just like that. You're not going to port in somewhere with 10 stacks and then dead. It's going to be more of a little gradual thing, which is very good. That's a very big difference in quality of life. And then with the 6-piece bonus, Hydras are now going to deal 1,200% damage for each Hydra head you have. So it's going to take you from approximately a 10,000% damage buff to a 12,000% damage buff for your Hydras. The problem here is the new set was already clearly weaker than Legacy of Nightmares. It's not debatable. It was clearly less powerful, and it's more difficult to play because of the head juggling. That's not really the right word. But the playstyle with the heads, where you have to balance your number of heads, and your number of heads is the exact way that it calculates your damage reduction and your damage per second. So the set was already more complicated to play and weaker. So now they go in and they give us a slight damage buff on the 6-piece, and they nerf the weapons, the Serpent Sparker, and the Magistrate, so that they deal less damage. Now, I understand that the point of nerfing Serpent Sparker and Magistrate is not to mess with the set. It's specifically to make sure that the Legacy of Nightmares variant isn't clearing 150 solo. But the problem is it ends up nerfing this set when the set was already too weak. If the set is already too weak, you're just making it worse by nerfing 2 items that the set uses. I don't know why I keep clicking like that. But anyway, the fact is, with them nerfing the Hydra set, I'm not going to waste any more of my time. And I don't mean that to be rude. I don't mean to be angry. It's just, right now the set is too weak to push with. It is too slow to do bounties or Nephilims with. And it's strictly worse than the Legacy of Nightmares variant. And that's a really hard sell to get someone like me. I have very limited free time and time to create content. I enjoy creating content. I'm going to continue to create content for Diablo and for other games. But I don't have time to be spending all of my free time trying to optimize a build that Blizzard is nerfing, that is clearly never going to be viable. Now, when it comes time and the Typhon's Veil set is the starter set for Wizard, I will absolutely make an effort to make sure that I have a good starter guide for the set at that time. But at this time, it's not worth my continued time commitment to continue to try and improve a build and prove a point that the build is good enough when there's a stronger, easier to play variant of the same playstyle. I know that kind of makes me sound like a quitter, and I do apologize, but I hope you can understand where I'm coming from on this. But that's going to about do it for today's video. There's a couple of bugs that have been fixed, which is great. Anytime we have bug fixes, it's always a good thing. And then finally, Mr. Jank Meme, his bag of fortune now also includes crafting materials, which is also a great addition. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions for me, please leave it down below in the comments section. If you would like to see more content from me, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on this video. And until next time, this is Primetime CP23, and we out.